Thank you so much, Preeti Ben, for the introduction. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Kuldeep Didiji and Vasanta Benji, along with Vamsi Bhai Saab and the entire family of BK Shanti Sarovar for having me here and giving me an opportunity to share with all of you. And I would also like to extend greetings of peace to all who are watching this event right now. And we are all seeking peace, and this session is all about that. So, as Preeti Ben rightly said, that the ability to stay stable amongst situations is becoming challenging day by day. And the topic, the topic given to me today is keeping your cool when emotions run hot. So, when you hear this word hot emotions, what are the emotions that come to your mind? Is the first question you ask yourself. Now, you see, even cool is a feeling, cool is an emotion. It can also be characterized as an emotion. So, as a human being, there is nothing wrong with a human being experiencing or creating emotions. But the kind of emotions we are creating or experiencing is what we need to look at today. So, first of all, when we talk about hot emotions, I think what we are talking about is anger. First, the first emotion that comes to mind is anger. Then there is lust, there is ego, there is greed, there is jealousy, there is desire, there is disgust, there is the negative set of all the emotions like hatred, or there is laziness, there is fear. So these are the emotions we are talking about when we say that we have to deal with the hot emotions. So when we say these are hot emotions and we want to take care of them, let me ask you, do you want to manage them or do you want to eliminate them? Because usually we are interested not in eliminating these things but only managing them. That is why we don't have a anger elimination session, we have an anger management session. Yes, so always you talk about stress management, anger management, not elimination. Now, what we have to understand is this is where the whole problem lies. Now, until and unless you understand that these negative emotions, there has to be an effort to eliminate these negative emotions if you want to actually get rid of them. Now, if you just want to manage them, that then on one side you're protecting them and on the other side you are trying to get rid of them. So you want to have anger and you want to experience anger, and only in certain times you feel that anger shouldn't be there. So this is why you are not able to deal with it. Now, first things first, let's understand what these emotions are. So primarily 10 negative emotions we will talk about today, which is lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, fear, desire, laziness, and hatred, and jealousy. So these are the 10 emotions that we will today try to talk about. Now, if you look at these emotions, we all create and experience these emotions. Now, why do we need to eliminate them? Because until and unless you eliminate them, you can't get rid of them. And they will keep operating at times when you even don't want them to operate. So this is the reason why you should need to feel the need to eliminate them. Now, let's ask ourselves, what if I continue with anger or jealousy or fear? What is the problem with these emotions? Because whenever people come to Brahma Kumaris and they undertake the course, then they always have a problem with whether we will try to make them completely emotionless. So, people want to have emotions and they don't want to get rid of lust or anger or ego completely. So, this is one of the challenges we face when people come to us. So, now let's understand what is the damage caused by these emotions. So, let's take certain examples. For example, for let's take anger. Now, when I was in the office, then one day what I saw was an officer came and his hand was wounded. He had a bandage on this hand at this place. And then I asked somebody what happened to this person, and that person informed me that this officer had a fight at home, and he fought with his wife or something. And then what he did is he just inserted his hand in between the where the door is hinged to the anchor, and then he just inserted his hand there and he pushed the door, and this hurt his hand. And that officer is a gazetted officer, and nobody would expect this kind of a behavior from a sensible person. But this is what we do when we are not sensible but sensitive. So, whenever sensitivity comes up, sensibility is lost. So you end up harming yourself in anger, you end up harming your loved ones in anger. So, this is what anger does to you. So, anger is causing you to behave in a manner in which you wouldn't behave if you were sensible enough. And then let's talk about lust. So you get attracted to somebody, you get married to them, and after some time you find out that it was just attraction and nothing else. And then this is what lust does to you. So it makes you repent for what you do in that surge of feelings or heat of the moment or heat of the emotion. So this is what happens. Or you operate out of lust and then you fall into trouble and then you repent for it. So this is what happens. Now, about ego. So you have an argument in office and then you end up speaking rudely with the boss, and then you have to pay all your life for that behavior. So these things happen when we are in ego. And then greed, if you see, greed is whenever, sometimes you have the sensibility that this offer, whatever you are being offered, may not be sensible enough or may not be practical or possible, but then somebody makes you a bizarre offer and you fall for it. Yes, so some holiday package, something, and then you fall for it and you end up paying for it, although you know that this doesn't look possible or this might not be happening. But you, at that moment when you are under the sway of greed, you are not able to see clearly. Or let's see very simple examples, like on a cold winter evening, you go to the market and then you see ice cream and you feel like having it. And then you get a sore throat because of that ice cream. So, this is what emotions do to you, emotions of greed, lust, anger, ego, attachment. Let's talk about attachment, because sometimes, when we talk about negative emotions, we think attachment is not one of them. But when we look at attachment, there are, if you see parenting these days, and because parenting has become very compensatory, so sometimes the parent is not able to give a lot of time or energy to the child, and then what they end up doing is they just overwhelm the child with resources and money and stuff, and then this kind of a compensatory attitude does a lot of damage for the child. And attachment, you see, sometimes when you are in attachment, you are not able to see that the child needs a balance of structure and love. So sometimes you only give love, and under the guise of that love, you end up spoiling his habits because you are not able to strike the balance between providing them with structure and love. So these are the things that attachment does. If you look at if you look at fear and what fear is doing, so you see, fear in this COVID situation, let's take a very burning example of what's going on today. So, in this COVID situation, this we are experiencing fear, and then fear is having an impact on the immunity level, because fear as an emotion is giving rise to this cortisol being released in the body, which is lowering the immunity. So, fear is counterproductive. So, all we are doing for COVID is feel fearful, and that fear is actually enhancing our probability of getting infected. So this is what negative emotions are doing to us. Now what happens is, negative emotions are like addiction. So just like, somebody becomes an alcohol addict. So let's understand what happens is, you start taking alcohol, and then you start taking alcohol in bits and, small quantities. And then you get a taste of it, and then the quantity starts increasing, and you don't realize when you become an addict. And then what happens is, if you are admitted to a rehabilitation center and they ask you to refrain from alcohol there for about a month, and then they keep you in conditions where you don't take alcohol, but then in 1 month you improve a little, although you have to fight with the withdrawal symptoms and all of those things. But then in 1 month, when you are just starting to get better, you take some alcohol. And then what happens is, you go back to the state in which you came on the first day. So, for any addiction, the law to get rid of that addiction is, if you don't use it, you lose it. So, if you want to get rid of any addiction, then you do not have to engage in it, you do not have to use it even once. And if you refrain from it forever, or at least a considerably long period of time, which I don't think is in months these days, it has to be in years. And only when you refrain from any addiction for a considerably long period of time will you be able to get rid of it. But in the case of these negative emotions, although we say that we want to get rid of them, what happens is, we want to get rid of them on some occasions, and then we justify them on other occasions. Yes, so you want to get rid of anger once it has crossed the line where you think the line is, and then on other occasions you are justifying your anger, or you feel that anger is even necessary. So not even that anger was unavoidable, but sometimes you kind of say that anger is necessary, and it gives you a dent to your personality, and then it makes you, authoritative and this kind of stuff. So what you have to understand is, we have to build an adversarial relationships with these negative emotions. And if we keep defending them on some instances and keep saying that we don't like them on other instances, that's not going to work. So we have to understand that these negative emotions, if you want to do away with them, then you have to understand that I don't have to use them come what may. So, negative emotions like lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, jealousy, fear, the desire, disgust, all of these emotions, if you engage in them once, then you cannot get over the addiction. So the aim should be to eliminate them, not manage them. If you go with the aim of managing them, they will never be managed. So this is something that first we need to note. Then the second question is, what would we look like when we become emotions free? So just create an image of somebody who has gotten rid of these emotions, and sometimes the image you create is very similar to that of a robot. So sometimes it feels like, okay, if I get rid of all these emotions of ego and lust and anger and attachment and greed, what will I look like? I'll look like a robot. But that's not what you will look like. So, what we have to understand here is that these emotions, when we get rid of them, instead of looking like a robot, we will look like a complete person. And what do I mean by a complete person? So let's understand that we as human beings are not meant to be emotional the way we are today. That is, the negative set of emotions needs to be checked and discouraged. But the we in our original design, so we were not meant to be robots. We were meant to be good, noble, pleasing, pure human beings. So we were meant to have a personality which was peaceful and pleasant and pure and soothing and happy. So that is the kind of personality we are in our original design. We are not dry or tasteless in our original design. So let's understand the kind of personality that we should aim at creating for ourselves. So, in spirituality, we talk about perceiving yourself as an energy. So, anyways, what are we? We are an energy in action. So, whatever we speak, whatever we think, however we behave, reflects who we are on the inside. And what are we on the inside? We are what we think, how we feel, what emotions we create. That is what we are on the inside. So, in spirituality, we understand that we have to see ourselves as an energy, and an energy defined by 7 qualities. So, what are those 7 qualities? They are knowledge, purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss, and power. So, in our original design, we are not robotic or dry. We are pure, peaceful, loveful, blissful, and powerful. So, if I give you a simple analogy, so the analogy is that just like if there is a garden and you don't make an attempt or an effort to cultivate it, then what happens is automatically it gets filled with weed and grass and stuff that is not required. So, similarly, on the inside the inner world, because we are not making a conscious effort to cultivate the garden of our inner world, it is not getting filled with fragrant flowers but with weeds and other kind of grass material. So what are the weeds and grasses? They are these negative emotions. And what are the fragrant flowers that you would like to grow on the inside? They are peace, purity, love, happiness, bliss, and power. Now, when you want to cultivate something, then you need to know, then you need to have proper information about it. And what is the information you need to know for cultivating these kind of fragrant flowers in the inner garden of your inner world? That information is having clarity about these positive set of feelings or emotions. So, what do I mean when I say love? So, let's take some of the feelings that we are discussing. So, when I say love, how is it different from attachment or lust? So let's add a word to this love, which is spiritual love. So, what is spiritual love, and how is it different from the kind of love that we are projecting, or we are expressing in our actions every day? So, what is the difference between the love that we know and spiritual love? So, spiritual love is unconditional. So you must have heard about this word unconditional love, but then I don't know whether we really have thought about it and are aware about what it means. So, what is unconditional love? So, let me give you an example or a very funny story about this unconditional love. So there was this young girl, and she once shared with me that her boyfriend doesn't have unconditional love for her. And she said, "You see, my boyfriend loves me, but he doesn't love me unconditionally." So I said, "How do you know that?" So she said that, "You see, if I dress up the way he wants, if I behave the way he wants, or he likes, then he loves me. But otherwise, he doesn't love me." So sometimes I receive these vibes, or his behavior is such that it communicates to me that he doesn't love me enough. So I told him, "And do you love him unconditionally?" So she said, "Yes, I love him unconditionally." So I said, "But you don't love him when he doesn't love you back." So today you are sitting before me and complaining about him. So obviously, this is not an expression of love. So you also love him only when he loves you back. And then the second thing is, if you love him unconditionally, then why do you love him? You could love anybody on the planet. So you love him because there is a reason, because of the way he talks or looks or behaves or smiles or whatever. But then that is the condition on which your love is based. And if that condition doesn't hold true tomorrow, then I do not know whether that love will be the same. So then she said, "Does unconditional love mean this?" So I said, "Yes, it actually means this, that unconditional love means totally unconditional." So when we talk about spiritual love is not cannot be confined to one person or a group of people. So when you talk about spiritual love means you love because you are love, and you love because every person is in their original design lovable. So every person is has a right to be loved, and you are a loveful soul, or you are a loveful person. And when you love because of this awareness that about who you are and who the other person is, then that can be qualified as spiritual love, true love, or unconditional love. And whenever the love that we express is conditional upon the person that we say we love, then that cannot be true love, because true means constant and eternal. And if your love is based on some aspect of the other person's personality, then it cannot be constant or eternal. So, this is the difference that we need to understand when we are talking about spiritual values or virtues, and when we are talking about emotions. So, as a soul, as a spirit, or as an energy, so I am slowly guiding you to the spiritual terminology. So, earlier I used the word energy, but then now I'm talking about the soul. So, a soul is who you are. You are an energy manifesting itself through the body, through how you think, how you speak, how you behave. But all that is created on the inside, and it is you, the soul, who is creating all these feelings or emotions or attitudes, and then that is finding expression in your behavior or words or your thoughts. So, this energy that you are, in your original design, you are loveful. That is, you are capable of radiating this energy of love to anyone and anything, or everyone and everything that is in front of you. So you are this loveful being. So you are capable of this. Now, just like I told you, the law about doing away with negative emotions is if you don't use it, you lose it. So, how did you lose this capacity of unconditional or spiritual love? Because you didn't lose it. So, you didn't use it. That's why you lost it. Now, why didn't we use it? Because we created conditions. So, according to the morality or the conditioning that we are trained into or conditioned into, we are given reasons why we should or shouldn't love somebody. Yes, so if somebody is different from you, or somebody doesn't behave the way you like, or somebody doesn't share the belief systems that you have, then sometimes you are conditioned to block your energy of love. So, what you do is you give a cold face, a cold shoulder to people who are not like you. So, somebody is a little different from you, and you just block your energy of love. This is what you do. Somebody doesn't behave according to what you think is the right way to behave, even if it is children. So, children get 98%, you smile. You say, Acha mera Raja Bacha, and you hold them and you love them. And then the moment they get 10% less, what do? You make a cold face, and then you give them that indication that I don't love you anymore. So what you do is are trying to you're trying to create or send out the message to the universe that you have to be my way in order for me to express my energy of love. And if you don't do that, then I don't love you. But what's happening in the process is you keep blocking your own energy of love, and then less and less of it is available to you. So that's why we are not capable of unconditional or spiritual love anymore. And that's why, because we are not making an effort to cultivate this fragrant flower of spiritual love, the weeds of attachment or lust are growing in the inner garden of our life. And let's take another feeling or positive emotion of happiness. Now, happiness also needs to be understood properly. So, if I ask you two questions, are you happy? Answer it for yourself, okay? So, you may say yes also. Some people are saying yes, I am happy. Now, the second question is, why are you happy? So, if you can find an answer to that question, why are you happy? Then that is the condition for your happiness. That is the reason for your happiness. And there is a very beautiful law. If your happiness has a reason, then the reason has a season. And when the season will end, the reason will end, and then your happiness will also end. So if you are happy because the weather is good, or the sun is shining, or it is raining, or you got something, or somebody did as you liked it, then that is your reason for being happy. And then that reason becomes the cause of your unhappiness tomorrow. So this is why then when you are unhappy, what do? You resort to pleasure. Yes, you resort to pleasure, and then you start making people, places, and things the basis out of which you derive happiness. So you become a parasite sucking happiness from people, places, and things. And then what happens is ultimately you become an addict, and that habit starts troubling you, because as soon as you don't get the food of your addiction, you feel very uncomfortable on the inside, and then you get angry because that subject of the supply of your happiness is not behaving well, or they are not behaving according to how you want them to behave. So this is the difference between happiness and love of a spiritual nature, and when we talk about happiness and love as we know it. So, what is spiritual happiness? So, when the happiness that you experience is without a reason. So, you're not happy because food is available or light is available or things are available. You are happy because this it is your nature to be happy. Just like you can be sad without a reason, can't you be happy without a reason? So most people today are sad without a reason, and they feel that it is natural to be sad without a reason. But then when we talk about being happy without a reason, then you should see the face and they say, how is that possible? So if you can be sad without a reason because you have trained yourself to be sad, then you can also be happy without a reason. And that's the true nature of happiness, or that when we talk about spiritual happiness, that is what we are talking about. So, similarly, you have to reflect about what purity means or what peace means. And I took up love and happiness because this is where most of the confusion arises. Another positive emotion I will talk about is feeling powerful. So against feeling fearful or insecure or incompetent, feeling powerful is a very good emotion to practice, or a good feeling to practice. And what is the difference between being spiritually powerful and being powerful as we know it? So there is a very simple difference. Being spiritually powerful means you are trying to create a state in which nothing on the outside influences you. And when we talk about power as we know it, then that means creating a state where everything on the external is being controlled by you. So, when you are trying to create a state of power where you control the external, then that's a materialistic approach to power. And when you talk about being spiritually powerful, it means that you want to create a stage on the inside where nothing on the external is able to affect you. And if you think about it a little, then you will be able to realize that controlling everything on the external is impossible. So it is completely impossible that you can be powerful in the sense you want to be powerful ever. And if you make this attempt to create a state where you are beyond the influence of whatever is externally around you, then you may succeed, because this is about you and you can train yourself the way you want to. So this is the difference. This is the state that we want to create. So what do we want to create? The fragrant flowers that we want to grow are purity, peace, love, happiness, bliss, and power. Now, how do you create them? Yes, so how do you create them is the question. So this is where the practice of meditation comes in. And here I would like to tell you something about. So I told you that when you don't use it, you lose it. Now let's know another law. Whatever you do many times becomes a habit with you. If you do anything n number of times, then it becomes a habit with you. Now we have created habits of anger, ego, jealousy, greed, lust, everything. These are habits that we have created by acting out of these emotions for n number of times. Now, when you want to create peace, purity, love, happiness, bliss, and power, the same approach applies. So, you have to act out of these emotions n number of times for it to become a habit. Now, here the question that we often grapple with is, so in a day, if you observe, you find 200 situations which trigger your anger or your greed or your ego, right? But the universe right now is not very supportive when you want to create peace or happiness or love or bliss or power. And another thing is also our conditioning is such right now that we are not able to pay attention on those things which may help us to feel happy or peaceful or powerful. Yes, so it's both ways. One is the state of the world, and then the state of our own inner world. Both are not very conducive to the creation of these habits of peace, purity, love, happiness, bliss, and power, right? So, what we do is here we understand why meditation is necessary. So, there is a law which we need to know about, and the law is that our inner world doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. Our inner world doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. And there have been experiments about this. And in one of the experiments, there were two sets of people, and one set of people every day at a fixed time listened to music, and another set of people just created visualizations and mental creations of a musical environment around them. So one just creatively visualized music being played around them, and another set of people actually listened to music at that time. And when the changes in their brain structure were studied, the changes were similar. So this means that whatever you do but through creative visualization on the inside creates similar brain responses when compared to similar situations practically happening outside of you. Now let me give you a very layman example about this. So if you love gulab jamun, yes, so today I don't know if we will be able to give you any toli because online, the sharing means we cannot share any prasad or bhog or toli with you. But if you love gulab jamun, then if you think about it, see it, or eat it, in all the three situations, your mouth salivates, right? So your brain doesn't know that right now they're only thinking about gulab jamun, so let me not create that response in the body. So our whole body, our whole brain is responding to our thoughts in a similar fashion as it would respond to actual situations outside, and this is the property that we use in meditation. Now, what do we do in meditation? So, we do not depend on external situations to help us create these feelings or emotions. What we do is we use our inner faculties of our inner world to create these emotions of peace and happiness and purity. So you just sit still and silent, and what you do is you think about yourself as this being of peace. So, sitting behind the eyes, you are this being of peace, radiating this energy of peace. Now, if peace could be captured in form and in feeling, then how would it look like? So you can visualize it as rays or waves or showers or any kind of visualization that you like, and then just visualize yourself as an energy, as a source here, radiating that waves or rays of peace. And by focusing on the inside, on that creative being, peaceful being, which is radiating this energy of peace, if you focus yourself in that, focus on yourself and visualize yourself like that peaceful being, then you create an experience of peace which is not based on anything on the external. And if you do this very often, then what you will be creating is a habit of peace. Does that make sense to you? Yes, so, and anyways, what are you doing all the day? You are creating on the inside. So, let me tell you one simple fact, or let me just Bring your eyes to open to a simple fact. And what is the simple fact? Your world doesn't exist outside, it exists here. Okay, you don't experience the world there, you experience the world here. Where are you experiencing the class right now? It's here. Yes, so whatever is happening on the outside also, you have two faculties. You are paying attention on it and you are creating an image on it, of it based on your perception. So there is attention and perception involved in how you experience the world which is external to you on the inside. So you are not experiencing the world as it is, you are experiencing the world based on your quality of attention and perception. Now, let me give you a very simple example. So suppose you are two friends and you are in a situation, and then somebody is talking about something, and then you are paying attention to it, and you are getting bored and you find that conversation very putting off and you are not interested in it. And then at the end of the conversation you tell your friend, I had a headache with this person and I didn't want to sit there and I had to sit. And this other person says, no, I found those things very interesting. And you see, they were that person had a lot of information about how this disease is getting very virulent and this and that, and then I found it very interesting. So you see, your perception of that conversation and the other person's perception of the conversation could be very different. And then about attention, right now there are millions of events going on around you. Yes, in the other room where you're sitting, in that same room, probably something is going on. Probably in the other room, something is going on. In the world out there, millions of things are happening. But what are you experiencing on the inside? Probably this class, and I expect that your answer is this class. And that would happen if your heart and soul is there in the class, and then your full attention is there on the class. So, at any given point of time, millions of events are happening around you, and what you experience on the inside is what you are paying your attention on. So, anyways, you are creating your experience on the inside through your attention and perception. And if you just paid attention to the fact that you are a spiritual energy, a peaceful energy, and now I'm not telling you that you are imagining or visualizing that you are an energy of peace, but now I'm telling you, you are that. You are not visualizing, you are realizing. So it's just that for several years or births, we have only focused on the external world. So we find this internal world and imagination. Just like anybody living on land would never be able to conceptualize or visualize what underwater life would look like. Yes, so if you're living on earth and then you try to think about what life some feet down the surface of the land would look like, it would be very difficult to think that life underwater would be so magical, so beautiful, so peaceful, so blissful. But then that exists, and only when you go inside and try to get in touch with that life do you get an experience of it. Similarly, we have not made contact with the internal energy for very long, and now God has come and He's telling us that you are a soul sitting behind the eyes, and this is how you feel. You are a peaceful soul. That's why we say Om Shanti. Om Shanti means I am a peaceful soul. And when you just know this and you pay attention to it, then you start experiencing it. So, first comes knowledge, then comes paying attention, and then comes experience. So, now that you're being given the knowledge, that apart from the external world around you, there is a world on the inside which is full of peace, which is full of spiritual love and happiness, and that is the being you are. And if you just unplug your attention and turn it inwards, so you just unplug your attention from the outside and just turn it within and try to see yourself as that small star, that small being of light, which is radiating waves or rays of peace and pure love and pure peace and pure happiness. Then you will be able to not only experience it, but by creating it often, you will also be able to become an embodiment of it. That will become the defining quality or the defining virtue that you uphold. So this is how you try to cultivate these fragrant flowers of love, peace, purity, happiness, bliss, and power. And just like you see, when you switch on the light, darkness makes an exit. So, similarly, when you cultivate these fragrant flowers, then the other stuff, these negative emotions, will just vanish. And in any situation, you will be able to not react but respond with peace, with happiness, with love. And then you will be creating karma which will not make you suffer or repent, but karma which will give you great benefit, and also karma which you will be proud of. Because there is a very famous saying, what begins in anger ends in shame. So whatever begins in anger ends in shame. So whenever we condition ourselves in these negative emotions, then and we are under the sway of these emotions, we act out of them. Then what we end up doing is feel ashamed of ourselves, and slowly we start losing our self-worth, and we start feeling that probably we are not worthy or we are not capable. So I would also like to tell you one important thing here. So, the reason why we are not very self confident, or we are very fearful, or we lack a sense of security, is because we are performing these negative karma based on negative emotions all day, and they are robbing us of our self worth. And any soul which loses its self worth will feel on the inside these emotions of fear or insecurity or shame. And this is why we need to remind ourselves of who we are. We need to reinforce this self worth, that we are peaceful, loveful, blissful, powerful, happy. Practice them, put them into action. So not just limit them to practicing them on the inside of the laboratory of the mind, but when you come into action, try coming into action in a peaceful, loveful, fragrant, beautiful manner. Let yourself be a source of fragrance in other people's life, rather than being a source of headaches or misery in other people's life. So when you start operating like this, you feel good about yourself, and second thing is that karma you create makes you feel confident and makes you fearless. And these are the virtues that you will need to deal with the situations that are coming in the future. Because you all have heard this expression, jo dar gaya wo mar gaya. So the problem with the situations these days is not just the situation, but also that we are incapable of dealing with the situation. And this is because we are conditioning ourselves in these negative sanskars. So let's make an attempt to create these positive set of habits, positive set of sanskars or virtues on the inside, practice them, and become a source of light in this world. Om Shanti. Let's meditate for some time. I will give you some thoughts based on what we talked about right now, and try to practice them. Okay? Keep your body absolutely still. Very slowly, gently, unplug your attention from wherever it is anchored right now and turn it within. This attention is a very interesting faculty. It is flexible and you can turn it within. Just allow your attention to and reach that place behind the eyes where you, the soul, sit. Look at yourself. You are this tiny star, beautiful, radiant, emitting rays of peace. You are still, absolutely still, like the star in the sky. You are the star of earth. You are silent and very peaceful. Rays of pure peace, positive peace emerge from you and shine through your eyes. See yourself as a peaceful soul, giving peaceful drishti. My whole body is at this time vibrating with the resonance of peace. And I'm creating an atmosphere of peace. This is who I am. This is what it feels like to be me. I am a wonder of God. I am a being of peace. Just sit in this experience for some time. Om Shanti.